Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Copeland, and I'd like to welcome you back to Jeff's Nonsport Card Universe, a place where we look at the history, evolution, and just plain fun of collecting non-sport cards. Today we're going to look at a set that's very important in the history and evolution of modern non-sport cards, a set that is pretty funny for people of a certain age, and also very interesting for others as well because many in the hobby, myself included, happen to believe that this set laid the foundation for one of the most beloved and enduring card franchises of all time. And we'll get to that shortly. Now, the set that I'm talking about is the 1960 Leaf Incorporated Foney Ads set. First of all, I need to give you just a little bit of history and a little bit of background about why this set was so popular in 1960 with little kids. Think about that. 1960, quite a while ago, but if you're of a certain age, I think this is going to resonate with you. After World War II, when the men and women who came home from the service were getting back to daily life, they wanted that version of the American dream that was out there at the time. 2.2 kids, a sheepdog, a station wagon, a home in suburbia, a better life. And through the GI Bill, many were able to go to college and start careers that allowed them to have discretionary income. And really, this was the first time in a long time that the middle class had discretionary income. I think back to my grandparents who lived through the Great Depression. They had an expression, wear it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. I mean, for goodness sakes, they saved string, they saved balls of tinfoil. They were very conservative with their money. But in the late 50s and early 60s, with the middle class having discretionary income, they had a lot more products they could buy. Advertisers and manufacturers saw this, and they did everything in their power to get some of this money. This was the beginning of what many people call the golden age of advertising in this country. Jingles, slogans were absolutely everywhere. Everybody of a certain age can remember these. Do you remember plop, plop, fizz, fizz? Oh, what a relief it is for Alka-Seltzer. And how about this? From the valley of the jolly, ho, ho, ho. Green Giant. And of course, it was cool to smoke back then. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Everybody's clapping for smoking in those days. All right, so jingles are everywhere. Advertising is everywhere. Leaf Incorporated comes to the plate, comes out with a parody set of the advertisements and the products of the era, and kids went crazy for them. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you first some of my favorite cards from the set. All of you probably remember Ritz crackers. You can still buy them today. Well, their parody card in the set was Ratz crackers. Rodents loved them. And yes, okay, as little kids, we looked at this and it was downright funny. Here's one of the more popular cards in the set. Everybody remembers Wheaties. How about Cheaties? Breakfast of Losers, recommended by failures everywhere. And by the way, this is a great crossover card. It's actually collected by a lot of people who collect baseball cards as well because of the uniform on the person on the card. How about this to go with the Green Giant slogan? Green runt peas grown by midgets. Well, I'm going to tell you something else, folks. These cards, by today's standards, are not politically correct in many cases. A lot of cases. How about Poopsie Cola? Makes you old and makes you lose your hair. Well, obviously, take a look at me. I didn't drink a lot of this when I was a kid. How about Fool-Aid? It fools you because it tastes like water. Then one of my all-time favorites, Coca-Cola kills your thirst. There were all kinds of advertisements they poked fun of in this, but they could get away with it because of what's on the backs of these cards. Now, you just saw the fronts. Take a look at what the backs look like. On the backs, we have a picture of Mr. Foney. Mr. Phony looks like a bum, a hobo, even maybe a carnival barker. And Mr. Phony says a couple of things on the back. The first is this. It says, these are done for fun and parody only, and this got them out of legal hot water. They had a disclaimer on the back. Second, these cards had a joke on the back as well, and I'll read you a couple of these jokes. They're not exactly rib ticklers, but for little kids, these were pretty good. Doctor, I just toss and turn all night long every night. What do you suggest I do for it? Well, get plenty of sleep. Yeah, okay. And how about this one? The wife says, you look like you didn't enjoy my cake. The man says, it was fine. I always turn green this time of day anyway. Well, okay, maybe these are not the most funny jokes in the world, but for little kids, they were pretty cool. They were pretty good. All right, so on the back, we have the picture of Mr. Phony. We have a nice disclaimer, and we have a joke. Now, I should also mention to you at this time that Leaf Incorporated had a subsidiary in Canada called Goodies. And Goodies also produced a set just like this in Canada at the time. I'll also tell you that these cards are incredibly difficult to find in America. And my friends in Canada tell me it's not easy to locate them there as well. Couple of features of these cards. They are much more conservative than their American counterparts. If you remember the Poopsie Cola that we looked at before, in Canada, they changed that to Burpsy Cola as not to offend people. They did this with many others as well. Also in Canada, the backs of the cards were changed to Mr. Baloney's Comics. So they changed that as well, and the disclaimer is there as well. These cards are intended for fun and enjoyment. All right, so those were the Canadian cards as well. In the Canadian set, there were only 52 cards. And think about this, many of the products in America were not used in Canada, so it didn't make any sense to put American products there if they wouldn't understand the references that were being done. All right, so I mentioned earlier that this set was very important because it laid the foundation for a franchise of other non-sport cards. Here we go, folks. In 1967, Topps Incorporated came up with their card set called Wacky Packages. Wacky Packages were essentially the same sort of parody of products of the time. Here's an early example here, and I brought this as a visual aid. Here's a can of Spam. I'm sure many of you remember Spam. It's still sold. I went to the Spam Museum in Austin, Minnesota a couple years ago. If you get a chance to go, it's a hoot. All right, so the card that goes with it in Wacky Packages, cram. You won't need to cram this down your throat. They're cute. They're really, really nice. Now, the Wacky Packages were produced by Topps from 1967 all the way up basically to the present. Every few years, another set of those would come out. I have a few of them here to show you. The early ones had a stiff cardboard back on them, but at the same time, the biggest difference between Wacky Packages and the Foney Ads is Wacky Packages were stickers as well. So they were designed to be peeled off and put on bicycles, lunch boxes, whatever kids wanted to put them on. Much to the horror of parents, many put them on the walls in their bedrooms. Well, here are some more modern Wacky Packages. Lobsterine instead of Listerine. That's pretty good. How about Harry Combs instead of Honeycomb cereal? That's actually pretty gruesome. How about Mentos instead of Mentos mints? Look at the toes in this. It gives me the creeps to look at it. Mrs. Butterworms instead of Mrs. Butterworth's syrup. And then one of my favorites, how about Starbucks coffee? Way too hot. Yeah, those are pretty good. So The Foney Ads cards actually help provide the foundation for a franchise that would come later. Now I'm going to add something to this video that was recommended by a couple of viewers. And I think this is going to be a good addition. And if any of you have suggestions or recommendations, please pass them along to me. I'm just a guy who loves his Nonsport cards, so if you can make some suggestions, I'll take them under consideration. What I'm going to do for each set now is give some card facts in case you would like to collect these cards. This set is called Foney Ads. In some hobby publications, it's also called Mr. Foney's Funnies because of what's on the back of the cards. There are 72 cards in the set. There are no real known rarities or scarcities, but I should mention there are some color variations in the set. Some of them are done very light, some of them are done very dark, but there doesn't really seem to be a premium that's attached to either one of those versions. The more popular cards in the set are Rat's Crackers. That's the one that I see going for the most money most of the time in auctions, especially if the card is graded. The Green Runt Peas, Mr. Mean, the takeoff on Mr. Clean cleaning products, and then the Cheaties cereal card, because it is a crossover and baseball card collectors do it as well. The typical cost of a non-graded card in this set is about $3 to $5. It can go a little bit more depending on the condition, but they're not very expensive. However, graded cards in excellent condition can command between $50 and $100, depending, of course, on the higher the grade, the more expensive the card. Now, in terms of difficulty of putting this set together, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the most difficult and 10 being the easiest, I would give this set about a 5. It's about average in terms of difficulty. The problem is they're not offered that often. They're not that expensive, but not a lot of them are around today. Kids love these cards and played with them. So again, condition can be a real issue here, and also finding the cards to put a set together. A complete set of these in, say, X condition, excellent condition, would typically go for somewhere between $250 and $300, again, depending on the condition. The Canadian cards are another story entirely. They're at least twice as expensive as the US cards. So if you're going to collect those, I highly recommend you have a friend in Canada try to get those for you. Okay, so this is our 1960 Leaf Incorporated Foney Ads. I hope you enjoyed the information about this set. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, enjoy your cards and enjoy collecting.